Hi everyone, this is Veronica, and today we are going to discuss a very important and a recent topic that NASA's InSight spacecraft about NASA's InSight spacecraft that has recently landed on the red planet. Which planet is known as red planet? That is Mars. So why it is called red planet? That is a question for you. You can give me the answer in the comment box. So before discussing that, let me tell you, for my video updates, you can follow me on Instagram, and for the PDF of this lecture, it will be uploaded on my Facebook profile. So this is the channel StudyIQ. If you're preparing for any government exam, a lot of pen drive courses are also available. For additional information, you can call on these numbers or you can visit our website. So now see, what is the relevance of this topic? It covers the part of your paper, mains paper 3 of UPSC. Okay, under this part, and particulars of this mission is very important for your prelims, as it can be asked, and even for the mains, right? Importance of the mission is very important because UPSC has a habit of asking recent events. Now see, why is it making headlines? Because recently on 26th of November, NASA's Mars InSight probe has reached its destination. So what was the destination? Destination was a red planet, that is Mars. To study its various the objectives of the mission we will discuss later. And finally, when it has touched down near the red planet's equator, so there is a specific place that is known as Elysium Planitia, that was aimed by NASA because they have seen that it is a flat surface and it could result in it could be a good parking lot for the InSight probe, the InSight lander, to land. So what is the full form of InSight? That is interior exploration using seismic investigation, geodesy and heat transport. So basically this is a spacecraft only, but this is not a manned mission, it is a robotic mission. You should remember that. So this is the first photograph InSight has sent back to Earth after it has landed, but in this photograph, as you can see, the surface of the Mars, but there's a lot of dust, so NASA is obviously waiting for more photographs when this dust particles will settle down. Now see, landing on Mars. So this particular InSight, it has landed after 6 months, okay, and it was a 482 million kilometer journey. So InSight was blasted off from Vandenberg, okay, Vandenberg Air Force Base. There was an Air Force Base in Vandenberg in Central California, and it was blasted on May 5, 2018, and it landed after 6 months, okay, after a 482 million kilometer journey. That is a long time, and a 6-minute descent through the rose-hued atmosphere. Here we are talking about the atmosphere of the Mars. So even 6 or 7 minutes you can say, and scientists call this time as 7 minutes of terror. Why? We'll discuss in next slide. So it was basically NASA's 9th attempt to land at Mars since 1976. That was the first time when a mission was planned for NASA, and NASA had last landed on Mars in 2012 with the Curiosity rover. This was also a spacecraft, but it was a movable, it was a rovering spacecraft. It is still there. It was sent to study the rocks of Mars and to find out life system on the Mars. But this InSight has some different objectives that we will discuss. Why the landing of InSight was considered very difficult? Because the success ratio on landing Mars is very low. As you can see, the success rate at the Mars has been only 40%, excluding InSight, and rest, whenever any attempt has been made, it has failed, and Mars has been graveyard for many space missions. And why it is known as 7, as I told you, 7 minutes of terror? Because it took 7 minutes to enter into the Mars atmosphere to the till it reached to land. Why? Because the speed of InSight was 19,800 kilometer per hour, and only in 7 minutes it dropped to 8 km/h. So there were chances till it touched down. So this is the human jogging speed normally. So from 19,000 kilometers it reduced to 8 km/h, and there were chances that it could burn up in the atmosphere due to friction. But however, it was a successful event, and finally InSight touched down the surface of Mars. So now see which countries have built up this InSight. So US is involved, France is there, and then it's about Germany. So they have contributed different. US is overall taking over the mission, monitoring the mission. Then France, if we talk, they have made the seismometer. I'll show you the picture of the rover lander also. They have made the seismometer that will measure the quakes, and Germany has made the mechanical mole, okay, that will burrow 16 feet, that is around 5 meters below the surface of Mars, to measure the internal heat. So let's see what is the mission InSight. InSight is a part of NASA's Discovery program, okay, and it will operate for 2 Earth years. Unlike Curiosity rover, which landed in 2012, it will sit and observe Mars. It won't move around the Mars surface. It will be fixed at the place I told you, that is Elysium Planitia, that is on the western. So finally it has landed on the western side of Elysium Planitia, that is near the equator of the Mars. So it will be the first mission to peer deep beneath the Martian surface. So finally we have plans to study the interior of the Mars. So when I'll show you the picture, you'll understand. And even we are going to use to study the seismic waves that will be generated by the Mars quakes if they exist. So there's a if also. If the volcanic activity or the quakes exist there, we'll study that also. So now you see, this is the InSight lander, and there is this robotic arm, okay. There are seismometers which will study the quakes and the Martian volcanic activity, if any exists there. There is an instrument, cameras, which will send back the photographs. Seismometers are again there. Antennas are there, which will help in studying the core of the Earth, of the Mars, and how it differs from the Earth. There are solar panels which will help to gain energy. This is like the battery of this particular InSight spacecraft. And there is this heat flow probe, which will be buried 16 feet inside the surface of Mars, that is around 5 meters, to study the temperature of the this Martian surface. So this is how it looks, right? So just in detail, once again, there's a landing slide. I already told you, Elysium Planitia. The lander, this is the facts and figures about it, how long it is. Then it is powered by 2 solar panels, as I told you, solar panels. And they carry seismometer, heat probes, radio science experiment. So here's the seismometer, this is a heat probe, and this is the radio antenna to study the core. All have different functions. So 2 complementary engineering cameras are also there for navigation and hazard avoidance, that I have already told you. So along with this InSight mission, out from it there are 2 attached satellites also, Mars Cube 1 and Marco. They have also reached the Mars, but their purpose is for communication and navigation. So it is also a experiment for the first time. So it will also help in future interplanetary communication exploration. So this is also very successful. And now the observation from Earth, NASA team will be monitoring radio circles with variety of spacecraft and even radio telescopes on Earth. So in which laboratory they are monitoring, that is they are monitoring this mission, that is Jet Propulsion Lab in California, okay. So this is important. So now let's come back to the signals. So the signals will be received back on Earth from various places from the lander, and I told you about the two separate satellites, that is the Marcos and Marco Cube, and from the InSight itself after it has landed, and even during the descent it was sending various signals. So now what is the significance of the mission and why we have chosen Mars? Okay, so these are the fundamental questions of the mission where we'll study the objectives. So the two main objectives of this mission are that we will study about two important things. First is formation and evolution of planets, then the tectonic activity of Mars. See, earlier also we have sent a lot of missions on Mars, but earlier Mars mission investigated history of red planet by examining features like canyons, volcanoes, rocks, soil. But now we will study more vital signs below the surface of Mars. So that is the main objective. So in like this heading, formation and evolution, we will study the size of the core, we will study the thickness and structure of the crust, then we will study the structure of the mantle, then we will study how warm is this planet, and under tectonic activity we will see how powerful and frequent internal seismic activity occurs on the surface of Mars, and then if there are meteoroids impact on the surface of Mars or not. So these are the main objectives. And now why we have chosen this planet Mars to study? Because see, Earth and Mars are very similar, okay, but during last 3 million years there have been slow motion disaster for the red planet. So what kind of slow motion disaster had happened? That its dynamo had died, magnetic field has faltered, there used to exist some kind of water on the map that Mars that has totally evaporated, and more than half of the atmosphere has stripped away by the solar winds on the surface of Mars. So why all of these things happened, that is why we are going to study this. And what course that when both of the 3 billion years back, when Earth and Mars were almost going through the same process, then what happened that both of these planets took different path of evolution. So all this, as Mars is a small planet, it must have reserved a lot of history in it, so we will try to explore that. So this is the significance of this mission, and it is very important. This mission is around 1 billion international project. This is the total financial outlay of this program, and it is very important. So I hope everything regarding this is clear, and it is a very important topic. So yeah, I have covered everything now, and this is a question for you. Discuss about the NASA's InSight mission on the Mars. So I will just discuss that how you have to approach this question now. So now see, this is the question for you. So we'll just discuss like how you will approach this question. I really expect that you will write this answer, you will practice the answer, because it is very important for your mains writing practice. So just see, the landing of InSight on Mars is a significant development in the field of space technology, and in the past UPSC has asked about such space mission like the question on Juno, and thus this event needs to be prepared. So see, what is the key demand? What is the key demand of the question? The question expects us to explain about InSight mission, discuss its objectives, and explain about its significance, right? So how you will structure the answer, I will tell you. So now just see, for the introduction part, you have to highlight the current event due to which InSight is in news. So you need to write the current event. Then we'll come on the body. So what you will write in body, you have to explain about the InSight mission, like what is the goal of this mission. Okay, you have to tell it is an unmanned spacecraft, you need to specify that. Okay, and you have to compare it with Curiosity also, which landed in 2012. What is the difference between two? How many attempts have been there for the scientist to make any probe land there? Then you have to talk about NASA, right? Then you have to come for how much time it will be there. As I told you, it will be there for around 24 months, that is the 1 year on Mars. Okay, you have to talk about Elysium Planitia. So what all we have discussed in the lecture, you need to say that. Okay, discuss its objectives. I've told you in two parts. Okay, this is important because Earth and Mars used to be similar and all that, and why we have chosen, why the mission has been planned for Mars. Objectives are a different thing, and why we have chosen Mars is a different thing. You have to tell both. And then there comes the conclusion. So in conclusion, you have to highlight that this is a major development and would help us enrich our knowledge about the solar system, because we'll see how these rocky planets have been formed and what was the process of evolution of these planets, and why all the planets took a different path, like Mercury became so hot, and Mars also took a different part of evolution, Venus took a different part of evolution, and Earth was different. You need to highlight that about the solar system and conditions that are necessary for the formation of life. You need to write all that. Okay, so this is all. Thank you. You can contact me for any queries here. Thank you.